one of the things that I'm really excited about that I'm going to show you today is called a style guide. And these are basically all the components that you need in your project in order to be able to build out a really good looking, sexy app that's hopefully make your client really happy with what you've built. So we're inside Lovable, and basically what I'm going to do here is ask Lovable to help me generate the template that I want and put together the look and feel of the pages. So I'm going to just say that here. I'm going to say I need to. So I've put together a little bit of a prompt now. Basic like ChatGPT stuff obviously is to tell it what it is and the role it has as well. But something that I'm slipping in that I quite like to use a lot is the Dieter Rams principle. Basically, Dieter Rams focuses on simplicity, minimalism, and all of these like really core key features that I love as a designer. So I want to include that. And then basically as well, I'm just saying all of those components that Lovable gives us as a base, show me them in the app so I can edit them and we can start building out that style guide using, you know, those base cards or buttons, etc. that the project already has. So we're going to run this prompt and I'll see you on the other side. Dieter Rams focused on a couple of things, like he influenced the design of Apple and Johnny Ive. So if you look at any of the products he made, they're very similar to how the first couple of iPods looked. So prompt's finished running. What have we got now that I've run this? It looks like everything that we need to make a style guide, which is awesome. You can also see that it's given some ideas for layout, typography, and it's even included Dieter Rams principles, which I'm going to keep because whenever I reference this in the future, I still want those principles to be applied like across the project. Now what I'm going to do is just go through this and apply designs that I like from across the internet to the individual parts until we have a bit more of like a style of our own put together. In this case though, one thing that I do want to do is I want to build a dark mode app. So I'm going to change the color palette. And I think this is a really good example of how to just simply run a prompt to do a small thing inside your Lovable app rather than a big thing. So let's change the color palette to dark mode, removing the light white color palette. I'd like to use the color scheme from Google's dark mode material design. So again, just like dropping some knowledge that I know about, which is the material design, which is a design system by Google, is really well made, and I really love the colors they use in it. I think it's been tested at scale. They've got hundreds of millions of users, so I really trust them when it comes to like the choice of color, especially in a dark mode app. And honestly, I'm pretty happy with the shades of black and such that it's used. I think it looks really clean. So what I'm going to do is just come check on the code quickly. And what I'm looking for here is that the style guide is using the components that we already have in the UI folder, as I want to edit these so that I can use them globally. And it looks like it is as well. So what we were looking for is these import statements just to tell us that we are using the slider, the chat box. So those are to be the components that I want to edit and not make copies so that I don't bloat my app. So I'm going to come back to the buttons page, and what I'm going to do is actually find like just a primary and a secondary. I think that whenever I run this prompt, Lovabe always creates like lots of different variants, but in reality, probably what I want is a default and a secondary, and we won't worry about complicating it with like 5 other different button styles right now. Something that I remember I quite like is the liquid glass effect by Apple. I'm going to see if somebody's posted about that online. Oh, here we go. So we're going to steal this one, I think. So what I want to do is just say to Lovabe, replace our primary button with a liquid glass effect. Use the background effect one, not the simple blur. Because if you remember, there's 2 options, right? And what we want is the SVG backdrop, the one that looks a lot cleaner. Make sure I copy all of this into the app. And basically what Lovable will do here is it'll take that code, and because I've directed it to use the SVG backdrop one, it's basically just going to copy and paste that and apply it to our primary button. So let's just double make sure that that works, and we should be fine though. We're going to just also tell Lovable to remove all buttons apart from default and secondary. Now, I'm not too sure about this one that I've stolen because it's looking a bit like shoddy at the moment. Add the liquid glass effect and make sure our button is implementing it properly. This is a great use case for like Lovable's browser search, because you can just tell it like you would a cursor MCP, like go online and look for something. Oh, that's fire. There you go. So basically what I did there with 21st Dev is just came in, copied the code, Sometimes you need to copy the demo as well, but in this case I don't, because I can just copy the one component that it has. And then we go back to Lovabe and we just copy and paste that in. I also asked it to remove this card here as well, because I want to see the effect on the button. It still hasn't got it right. We're going to tweak it a little bit more, but I think that background effect is going to look pretty dope. Oh, there you go. This one looks good. What we want to do is we want to make that button a bit bigger. Update the size of the button and use this glass effect. I love though. Do you see how like the color of this changing based on the color of the background? That's such a nice way for those two things to interact. I was on this one, so again we're just going to copy and paste all of this lovely code and see what we can get out of this. But I think we're cooking now. You can already see how like the design and feel of this is 10 times more than the basic Lovable assets that we get, right? And honestly, I'm pretty happy with this so far. All we're now going to do is just put together a secondary design. In our case, we're going to go for something a little bit more minimal. I'm going to keep moving forward now and probably do the rest of this style guide in Cursor, just because it's a little bit faster for me. I know how to read the code. I think that for sometimes though, for small things like this, using Cursor is definitely going to be the faster way to get through everything. So I'll see you on the other side, and we'll talk a little bit about what you can then do with these style guides to be able to benefit your projects when you're building further on. Hey guys, so I made it to Mexico and finishing off this design system and style guide with you. I actually think we cooked quite a bit, honestly guys. We got some really nice effects and buttons. I also put together some forms. And then as well as that, these really nice gradient alerts. I felt like I could bring it in from Dribble, which is where I copied the design, and just kind of made this nice style. There's a lot of like happy accidents that happen when you're building your style guide. For example, I realized that I really preferred these more minimal looking upward arrow buttons over the glass ones, so I'll be using those for the style guide rather than these kind of like really bulky glass buttons that do look cool, but when I'm building like intricate UI, maybe they don't fit very well, and they're better off being for like the landing page, for example. That was from just building out this card, which has a little bit of a glass effect on it. And you can see here that I added a more minimal button, and it just fitted the card so much better in this case. I also built out some custom tables with sorting and search, meaning that I can just like reutilize the same table design across the whole application and not end up with like different functionalities or different use cases. Finally, just like some fun animations for like navigation and accordions. And then I just wanted to make sure the Lovable or Cursor always use the same padding. A lot of times in projects, you might find that your homepage has this much side padding. Sometimes you might find that like your homepage has this much padding, and then on another page it's like this much padding, and those small little inconsistencies can like really break the design in an app. So I really try to make sure and find that here so that Cursor or Lovable knows exactly what it's doing. And then just figuring out like a typography system as well. What do I want the headings to look like? What do I want the body to look like? What do I want lists to look like? Finding a custom font on Google Fonts and just adding that to this so that it's all ready to go when it comes to building. After that, I came into Lovable, and you can see I already started writing some prompts, but the basis of it was I had a hunch. And that hunch was all of this work that I'd done inside of Cursor that I'd now brought into Lovable. It looks like to me that some of the components aren't being used globally. And if you don't know what components are, you can check out my course below. It goes over them. So in this case, I used Lovable's planning mode to go through chat and asked it to scan my style guide and come up with a plan that allowed me to see where the gaps were in terms of the global components we were using versus the new ones I'd made inside the design system. You can see here that it actually found a few gaps, including the default card, button, and alert, not using my new design system. So that's something we need to fix before we can start building the app out. I scrolled down a little bit more and I noticed that it was still wanting to use the glass button, which, as I told you, I was replacing for this more minimal button. So I just asked in the chat mode again, can it edit that plan and put together that minimal button style over the glass one? Now that that plan has been put together and it looks okay to me, I'm going to implement this to make sure that whenever we're building out UI in our application, it's always using our design system. What do you guys want to see more of as well? Like, I feel like I'm making a lot of videos right now, but I want to know like what knowledge I have that I can share with you. Tell me in the comments. So guys, looking back now at a design system, nothing's really changed just yet, but you can see here that some of the stuff has been pulled along. Now it got the buttons wrong again. So I'm going to say, make sure you copy the white text upward arrow button as the main button style. Right now it's wrong and uses square ones. So whilst that's running, I actually want to just double check something, because I noticed when I was testing this that when I clicked show toast, it showed the completely wrong alert, which is where I kind of got that hunch from at the beginning. So now if I click this show toast, I can see that this toast notification is coming up and the hover button as well, but it looks like it's still not using the right one. So there's a few things just to fix, but we're going to go through it systematically and update it one by one. And you look at that, like Lovable actually cooked. It not only gave me the primary button, but it gave me these cool variants as well. And I actually really like the style of them. So I'm probably going to keep them here as ways for people to use them. Maybe the only thing I would get rid of here is perhaps like the filled and the outline, because I really just want to stick to like a text-based kind of button system this time around. So get rid of the filled and outline variants plus ghost. So we're just going to have the primary, the secondary, and then small. I don't know if we'd ever need to use small, but just in case we want like a really minimal look, especially if we were thinking about like an alert banner at the top or something like that. Something that's inconspicuous, but it still points it out. So, you know, as a sanity check, if you always want to make sure that the global components are being edited, you can see here it edited the default button and then it edited the style guide afterwards. So we should be good. All right, guys. So you're probably thinking now, well, what do we do, Harry, with this style guide that we just spent, you know, an hour or two making? Well, there's a real simple trick that you can do that I think will help out. First of all, what we're going to want to do is just open up our project settings and we're going to go to the knowledge tab. You can see here that I already added a system prompt, but essentially what this section allows us to do is add custom instructions to every prompt that we run. You can do stuff like organize my code into nice folders, or I always want to use the color blue. In our case though, what I want to happen is whenever we're making a new page, component, or redesigning something, we should always reference our style guide page first and read it. Really important here, because as Lovable goes ahead to build stuff, I wanted to always look back at our design system and think about how can it apply that to the thing that it's building in order to keep consistency across the entire app. I'm going to click the close button here. And we're going to go down to Ask Lovable and I'm going to say, design me a mock login page, just front end for now, no back end logic. What I'm basically saying to Lovable here is that I don't want it to go ahead and like implement everything, just the look and feel, so I can double check that it is applying the style guide to all of our new components. Now you can see here in the prompt that it has picked up on our design system with glass effects. So I'm hoping here that it should be able to add a login page that utilizes all of our new components. And here we are, guys. Like, it actually did a pretty nice job. I mean, yeah, we could add some stuff here to make it a little bit more interesting, like an image to the right or something like that. But you can definitely tell it's kept the design consistent. The same sizings, the right headings, and it's even added our glass button here, which I'm a little bit surprised about. So, you know, one of the things we can say here in Lovable is make sure to use our primary variant button with upward arrow for sign in, not glass. So we'll send that in, and you know, one of the things you can do if you need to is go back into settings and just retype that system prompt again. Basically just say something like, make sure you always use the button with the upward arrow, and that way then I won't have to keep repeating myself. This actually is starting to look pretty clean now. As you can see, having a style guide is super crucial because it not only allows you to make changes to one component and see them be made across your entire app, but also speeds up your process. You don't have to go and redo things. You don't have to worry about that. Instead, you could just update the button at the global side of things, and that's going to propagate through your entire application. And I would say that's probably one of the speed hacks that's allowed me to deliver projects in a month for clients across the globe. I hope this video has been really useful. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more about Lovable and how to build applications really fast, I would watch this video next.